What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I am back in a video. This time once again, we're going to look at one of the all-time great legends, that being Kobe Bryant. And in Kobe's career, he had many great seasons. You can look to 03, 09, even 2013. But in my personal view, the best version of Kobe as an individual basketball player was during the 06 season. Now during this year, Kobe, as you guys know, averaged 35.4 points per game, the highest of his career. And during the season, he was carrying a Lakers team that was below average at best. And we're looking at Kobe's season in depth. There's one month where he is simply unstoppable. In this video today, I'm going to break that month down and show you guys why I believe that that month is the greatest month for a basketball player in NBA history. Now first up in this video, we're looking at Kobe's best ever month that happens to be in January of the 06 season. In that month, Kobe played 13 games and was playing at an all-time great pace. Now for some added context coming into that month, the Lakers had a 500 record, being 16-16. And for the first two games of that month, Kobe was actually suspended for elbowing Mike Miller. Now with that out of the way, let's get into Kobe's month of January and why it was so impressive. And to start it out, let's look at his first four games. Versus Philadelphia, he had 48 points. Versus the Clippers, he had 50. Versus Indiana, 45. And versus Portland, 41. Those games are all consecutive and back-to-back. And for NBA history, that streak was the 9th longest 40-point streak and also the 9th longest 45-point streak. And looking at the games more in depth versus Philly, by scoring 48 points, he became one of only 4 players ever to score that many points while shooting 100% from 3 with a minimum of 5 makes. Versus the Clippers, he had 40 points alone in the second half, the 6th most ever per half in NBA history. And also pretty important to note, in the second half, Kobe outscored his teammates 40-11 and added in the game-winning jump shot to seal the victory.
Kobe Bryant, he's going to put it up, you just know it. He'll drive into the paint, shoot off balance, bank it in. 11 seconds to go, Clippers call time.
Now versus Indiana, once again had a big-time scoring performance, having 45 points. And in the fourth quarter, he had 17 points a game high and iced it with some clutch free throws.
85. Kobe going strong inside with the finger. Clipper game. All right. The 45 puts him in that elite company, and he does it.
Now looking at the last game, he had 41 versus Portland in a 10-point loss. But even with that being the case, Kobe in that game was responsible for 58% of his team's overall offense. So when looking at the first 4 games of the month for Kobe in those games, he averaged 46 points per game, 7.5 boards, 4.5 assists, on 48, 46, and 81 splits. Undoubtedly, very impressive numbers. Now looking at the next 5 games of the month, Kobe once again was very impressive, having 27 versus Cleveland, 38 versus the Warriors, 37 versus the Heat, 51 versus the Kings, and 37 versus the Suns. And pretty impressive in that stretch, Kobe was a perfect 50-50 from the free throw line. And when he scored 27 versus the Cavs, that was his lowest of the month, but he still had a big-time fourth quarter, having 10 points, including 6 points last minute and 30, and a game-winning jump shot over LeBron James.
Shot clock down to 7. Bryant, yes. Bryant putting moves on James. Here's Bryant, yes.
Now looking at the Golden State game, he had 38 points. In the fourth quarter, he scored all Lakers' last 10 points. Now looking at the game versus the Heat, in that game, he had 37 points on 50-40-100 splits, and in that matchup outplayed D-Wade as well as Shaq. And this game from Kobe is a pretty good revenge game, as his second ever matchup versus Shaq when they weren't teammates. And this time Kobe actually got the W, unlike on Christmas. Now looking at Kobe's next game, he had 51 versus the Kings in a devastating loss. And for the NBA that year, that was the most points a player scored in a losing effort. And speaking of losing, their next game versus the Suns, the Lakers would also lose in embarrassing fashion, despite Kobe having 37 points and accounting for 44% of the offense, with another teammate scoring over 15 points. So during that 5-game stretch, Kobe, who was also dominant, and his Lakers team had a 3-2 record. And we look at it in total, he averaged 38 points per game, 4.6 boards, 3.8 assists, on 45-31, and 100 splits. Once again, very impressive, with Kobe's nearly averaging 40 during a 5-game sample size. Now next up, we have Kobe's final 4 games of the month of January. In these 4 games, he had 81 versus Toronto, 30 versus Golden State, 39 versus Detroit, and 40 versus the Knicks in the Garden. During that 4-game streak, he averaged 47.5 points per game. And that 81-point explosion versus Toronto, that in my opinion is the best game of Kobe's career and the best scoring performance in NBA history. As in that game, Kobe, he didn't just have 81 points, he had 55 points in the second half alone. In the fourth quarter, scored 28 of LA's 31 total points.
Just another one in many.
Oh, okay.
Kobe Bryant, 28 for 46 from the field. This would be 18 for 20 from the line, and an 81.
Now, a very forgotten game for Kobe is the game after that versus Golden State, where he had 30 points on below average shooting. But one thing I want to note is that Kobe in the fourth quarter and clutch time was fantastic, as in the first 3 quarters, he only had 5 total points. But in the fourth quarter and OT, he had 25, including clutch free throws in OT, as well as the fourth quarter.
Will they be able to retrieve it? 5 on the shot clock. Deep 3. Got it!
It's always the first one game, because sometimes it's easier to get a heave up at a 3.
Now looking at his next game, he had 39 versus Detroit, versus one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. And his last game came in MSG, where he had 40 points and only 33 minutes of play, sitting out the majority of the fourth quarter. Now we're looking at those final 4 games, that's the best stretch Kobe had during this month, as in total, he averaged 47.5 points per game, 5.0 boards, 4.0 assists, on 48, 42, and 88 splits. And that right there is the final 4 games of Kobe's month, where he went off in January. And looking at it in total, his numbers are video game-like, averaging 43.4 points per game on 47, 40, and 90 splits. He had 3 40-point games and 4 50-point games. And to really grasp how impressive that is, during the entire 06 season, there were 6 times in total where players scored 50-plus points. Kobe in 1 month alone did that 4 times. And if you only include his month of January, he still would have been the league leader in 50-point games while only playing 1 total month. And when looking at 40-plus point games, if you only look at January, Kobe had 7 of those games total. That month alone would rank 4th, only behind Allen Iverson, Gilbert Arenas, and LeBron James. So Kobe in the month of January, he was otherworldly and put up insane stats. Now when looking at NBA history, what separates Kobe's month from all the other great months from the great players? Of course, players like Jordan, Wilt, Kareem, even Magic, Bird, Duncan, those players had dominant months in their careers. But what separates Kobe's from all the rest? That, my friends, will be the added context of his era. When looking at Kobe's January month, his team had a pace of 92.2. If that was an entire season, that would be the 15th lowest in NBA history. And when looking at the Lakers team during this stretch, they averaged 107.0 points per game. On the season, they only averaged 97.9 points per game. Once again, this era was far more defensive and a lot better defense than in today's NBA. And when looking at January, Kobe was responsible for 48.2% of his team's overall scoring. So in effect, Kobe was a one-man wrecking crew carrying a team on his back for a whole solid month. Now, of course, when talking about Kobe in any context, people always talk about how clutch he is and how good he was in the fourth quarter. And when looking at the month of January, he was fantastic in those fourth quarters, having a total of 193 points and averaging 14.8 points per game in those fourth quarters. And looking at his clutch time moments, he had more than a few. First, the Clippers had the game winner. First, Indiana, he had game-winning free throws. First, Cleveland hit a game-winning jump shot. First, the Warriors once again hit game-winning free throws. And in the fourth quarter versus Toronto, had 28 points, the most in NBA history for a fourth quarter on record. So during January of 06, Kobe in the fourth quarters in clutch time was simply unstoppable. Add that into the raw stats, the overall context, I think this month from Kobe was the best month in NBA history from any player at any position. So that right there is the end of the video. As always, let me know your guys' thoughts. What do you think of Kobe's 06 season and how he played in January of that year? Was he playing his best basketball? And do you think it's the best month of all time? As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.